Hey guys, Sam down here. This is going to be my chapter review to My Hero Academia or Boku no Hero Academia 277 Who. Now this was a packed chapter. There was a lot going on and I really enjoyed it. So let's get right down to it and talk about the different things that happened, what I think is going to happen next, all of that good stuff. So the first scene, we actually see Deku Bakugo take on Shigaraki a little bit. And this was a surprise. This was continued from last chapter where Gran Torino says to both Deku and Bakugo, don't get in contact, don't encounter, do not engage with Shigaraki at any point. The worst case scenario would be if One for All fell into his hands, then we're all screwed. But what we get here is kind of the rationale behind Deku and Bakugo's not agreeing with that concept and going against it. Their worst case scenario, the worst case scenario that Deku and Bakugo feel is actually worse than losing One for All, is the fact that they could lose their teacher here. They could lose Aizawa. They could lose Eraser. So I kind of agree with them in a sense here. What they really want to do is they want to make sure that they're raised correctly as heroes, that they get all the proper attention, the proper equipment, the proper kind of role model to aspire to. And even though they have all my Aizawa's the kind of guy who's been watching over them, making sure that they correct their errors, making sure that they utilize their quirks in a proper way. So if anything, they're right in the sense of if they lose Aizawa, they lose that figurehead, and that they make sure that he makes sure that they become proper heroes. So for them, the next generation needs a proper figurehead. They need proper teachers. So that's why they're fighting. But they also make mention, you see kind of in Deku's head, he's making mention of the fact that there isn't enough firepower with all the other heroes occupied by the Nomu for Eraserhead to be protected and for the actual heroes to attack Shigaraki. So that's also why they joined, which is a good point. A little bit of an emotional part here is Aizawa realizing how much Deku has evolved. He's looking at him directly and he's just thinking, wow, Midoriya. And he's thinking back on the time that he told Midoriya or Deku that he couldn't be a hero with that power of his, how damaging it was to himself. He really didn't see Deku becoming a hero with a power like that, but he's now impressed with how Deku has decided to move forward in a position where Deku's actually protecting him and Bakugo is actually protecting him. So he's super impressed by that as well. We then get the next scene, which was really cool as well. It's kind of Bakugo and Deku's first mini altercation with Shigaraki, their first mini engagement. And I love how Bakugo's like, let's do this rationally, and proceeds to open fire with like a machine gun attack on Shigaraki. So I thought that was pretty funny. But this doesn't affect Shigaraki in the slightest. His body has been re-engineered to a point of strength and a point of power where it's so strong, both internally and externally, where an attack from someone like Bakugo, or that level attack from someone like Bakugo, doesn't even hurt him. He just brushes it off, and he's just like, yeah, the cute fireworks show, which I thought was, the last person you really want to incite and get enraged is probably Bakugo, because he's going to remember it for a lifetime. He's going to make sure that fuels him to become stronger. So Shigaraki a few times, two times in this chapter, I think, says something to the Bakugo that would kind of give him that fuel to become an enemy in the future, who would be very difficult to deal with. So I think maybe not the best foresight from Shigaraki here, but Shigaraki is so powerful, he doesn't really care about what he says. He's become a major troll. What I didn't like about this part, and this kind of stems from my same opinion from last chapter, is the fact that even though he brushes this attack off from Bakugo, he is able to pull Deku, who's using Black Whip on him, kind of rein him in a little bit. And he pulls Deku, who's using One for All here, to also rein him in. So his strength level is off the charts. And he pulls Deku like there's nothing holding him back. And I'm just like, I still don't like the fact that Shigaraki is this powerful without it being a quirk. Someone actually corrected me last chapter and said, actually, Eraserhead can't erase a mutation type quirk, I think it is. So he caught me out on that, which is actually a very good point. So thank you, whoever said that. But that doesn't negate my point here. Shigaraki is still so strong, and it's not even because of a quirk, and I feel like that cheapens the deal a little bit. It's just, oh yeah, we enhanced his body. His body's next level right now. He's almost as strong as All Might without a quirk, and I think that's what really gets on my nerves a little bit. I'm not so sure I'm happy about that, but having said that, the fact that he's this strong without a quirk, and it's just his body having been re-engineered, it's his body having been altered, it does make for really entertaining reading. So I think I might eventually get past this little issue I have, but I do think it does cheapen the deal a little bit to say that it's not a quirk. This is also the part where he says that thing to Bakugo. He says, you're not on my radar anymore. I don't care about you anymore. I stole you at one point. Now I don't need you. You're not that guy for me anymore. So I feel like, once again, Shigaraki doesn't realize that this interaction with Bakugo, unless he kills Bakugo in the next few chapters, which I really doubt, Bakugo is going to use this as fuel to become stronger, to become grow this enmity towards Shigaraki, and eventually he's going to become someone, I think, who's going to be one of the main pillars against someone like Shigaraki. So probably not the best thing to say at this point in time, but Shigaraki's kind of drunk on power. He doesn't really care about what he says to anybody at this point in time. Next part of the chapter, which I also really liked, is Endeavor's engagement with Shigaraki. So he rolls up on the scene, and the first thing he does is he pushes away Deku and Bakugo, and then he lands a heavy shot on Shigaraki, sending him flying. And this is where we get to see some character progression from Endeavor as well. We know he's been a better father recently to Shoto, to his other two kids. He's been trying to kind of repent for the past where he was very, very abusive of his wife and also of his kids. He was so obsessed with becoming the strongest, becoming someone better than All Might, that he just was not a very good father, very abusive, and a very, very dark past. But here, when he lands and he's just pushed Deku and Bakugo out the way, the first thing he asks, where's Shoto? Where's my son? Where's Todoroki? So I really like that. I thought, the fact that even in this state of war, basically, his first priority is, where's my son? I know he was in the vicinity. Where is he right now? And they kind of ease his mind by saying, oh, he's not in the vicinity. He's not here with us. He's still back at the evacuation effort. And Endeavor takes a quick glance around, and he's like, okay, cool. But I just like that his first point of concern was his son. And that's something I think shows how much Endeavor's character has evolved from the beginning of My Hero Academia. So while Aizawa continues to glare at Shigaraki, making sure he doesn't blink, and he feels he can hold on to that stare and continue to erase Shigaraki's quirks for a long while, Endeavor says to both Bakugo and Deku, he's like, alright, I don't really care for why you're here right now. We can save the explanations for later. You two are teaming up with me. We're going to kick the shit out of Shigaraki. So once again, Endeavor being that guy who's going to utilize the guys around him, even if they're kids with provisional licenses at this point. He's like, I got to make sure that you guys team up with me. We're going to bolster each other's skills up. We're going to kind of multiply our efforts, and we're going to take this guy down. So I really like that. Once again, Endeavor showing the type of hero he can become. We'll come back to that later on. And Shigaraki is not fazed by this at all. He's just thinking, yeah, I need to scoop up Deku, and then I need to get out of here so I can steal One for All. Meanwhile, Endeavor's very wary. He's like, all right, I know that Shigaraki seems to be after Deku for some reason or another. So his first order is, Bakugo, you cover Deku. Let's get this show on the road. So I really like that. The next part is actually really, really interesting as well, and I really like this. We see Shigaraki as he's making his way towards Deku. He's thinking about One for All, and his head's throbbing. But then we get this speech going through his head, someone speaking through his head. And that person says, acquire One for All, you will be mine, little brother. And we see the right side of Shigaraki's face actually split. So from the forehead through his eye, and then down towards his chin and down through his cheek as well, his face actually splits probably about half an inch. And that's first off, that's a mad gash. Like that looks super painful. But the issue here is he addresses Deku as little brother, and we actually see why here. So we see Deku confused by this, we see Shigaraki confused by this, while Endeavor continues trying to attack him, and actually Shigaraki is still fast enough, still powerful enough, relying on that strength, just the strength. He's fast enough to dodge Hell Spider very efficiently. But this was a part of the chapter I really, really enjoyed. Shigaraki's thinking, it's not something I would say. Why the hell would I say that? And then he realizes, oh, there's still my master, the All for One. His will is still attached to this quirk, and that's what I'm feeling. He's getting something very similar to Deku, which is Deku receives the vestiges of the past, the vestiges of One for All, which are the previous users. Some of their will, some of their kind of power, soul has been attached to the quirk, so they get to instruct him. This is how you use my quirk. This is what happened in my lifetime. They get to instruct Deku, and Deku, and I think the kind of theme behind One for All is collaborative effort, teamwork. So Deku is getting this education, this history lesson from everyone that used One for All, and he's becoming more and more powerful because of that. Whereas Shigaraki here, he does the opposite, and he's just like, no. This is now my quirk. Even though this used to be All for One's quirk, you don't get to be some voice in my head telling me what to do, telling me who I should be, what my aim is anymore. This is my power. I'm going to become the master of All for One. And I really, really like that direction. And something I was actually really interested by in this chapter as well, let me just put my phone away, was the fact that we see Shigaraki even disrespect All For One here a little bit. He says, I'm really grateful for how you raised me up and all that good stuff, and for taking me in when no hero was around me. But the guy that they call the Lord of Evil, he was defeated by the power of a single man, talking about All For One. He's like, nah, that's not who I'm gonna be. I'm gonna differentiate myself. You're the user of All For One who was defeated by my one man. I'm not gonna be like that. I'm going to be greater than that. I'm going to be the greatest evil. And we see this kind of very, very symbolic panel where Shigaraki puts his face to his hand and kind of mentally decays the presence of All For One in his head. And he just says, shut the hell up. I can control myself. And I was like, oh, this is so good. You get to see Shigaraki going kind of transforming once again from that boy to man kind of thing. He's not someone's puppet anymore. He's like, all right, I understand that your will is still here. You want me to do these things, but I'm not gonna follow you like that. I'm gonna be my own man. I've got my own track set up in front of me, and I'm gonna be my own train. You can't tell me what to do no more. This is my journey. So I really like that. And he just says, I control myself, with a really crazed look. I thought that was so cool. We then get the next kind of mini engagement, which is Gran Torino and Endeavor. Well, almost Endeavor. Endeavor kind of jumps up in the back and then gets hit. But Gran Torino latches on to Shigaraki and he says, quit. You're trampling all over Shimura's memory, talking about Nana, who was his friend. And Shigaraki here, with a very bored look, says, who? And I'm not sure what this meant, because we saw Shigaraki stepping away from his family in that kind of chapter where we saw his psyche and how he was going to accept becoming All For One, and how he accepted All For One's kind of power and that mantle. But I didn't think that would erase his memories of his family. And I'm not sure if he's actually very familiar with who Nana is anyway. But he says who here as if he's never heard of his family name as well. Shimura's memory. That's his family name. His name is Tenko Shimura, and then it was changed to Tomura Shigaraki. I feel like this might play a part in the future where maybe he learns a little bit more about Nana Shimura, and he's like, oh crap, that's my grandmother, and she actually had One For All. So maybe there's going to be some sort of enlightenment where he realizes the feud that occurred between One For All, between All For One, and how All For One killed Nana, and how this led to his family's kind of interactions with him and all that type of stuff. Maybe there's more to be developed here. I'm not sure, but I feel like this isn't just like a willy-nilly, I'll just throw this in here. I feel like Horikoshi put this in here for future reference. He doesn't seem to know who Shimura is, who Nana is, and we already kind of knew that, but I think there's going to be an explanation moving forward. Shigaraki then shows once again that immense power that he has. That absolutely, he is a tank right now. He manages to hit Gran Torino in the gut, and while he does that, he leaps into the air with immense strength, even hitting Endeavor in the back, who's been laid out by this. So both Gran Torino and Endeavor in that moment have been laid out, and he's just making his way straight towards Deku. Deku is his main objective, even though he told his kind of the vestige of his master, he's like, you don't get to control me. He still understands that Deku having One For All is a major threat, and he wants to take One For All from Deku. But what he doesn't see is while his line of vision is entirely focused on Deku, above him is Bakugo, who's already seething with what Shigaraki said to him earlier about not being on his radar. So he's like, I'm not on your radar, huh? You piece of crap, taste this. And I was like, oh my god. We see Bakugo pull out that little seal. I'm not sure what it's called. You know, that little lever thing that's in a grenade even, I think. And he pulls out that seal in his gauntlet and unleashes a devastating explosion, hitting Shigaraki straight into the ground, pummeling him into the ground. I thought that was amazing. Shigaraki does not look like he was okay through that. That was a devastating attack. And what I liked about that was the fact that once again we got to see Bakugo like he used Deku as bait, so we get to see that progression again and how quick thinking Bakugo is on the field. But what I liked about this part as well is the fact that we see Endeavor burst through the kind of smoke and flames, getting ready to punch Shigaraki, and while he's doing this, he's thinking to himself, so what if my strength alone's not enough? So he's thinking about a conversation he then had with All Might, who said, the symbol that I strove to be, that isn't the same path, that isn't the path for you to follow. So what I got from this, and what I think most people would have got from this, is the fact that Endeavor he hasn't just realized it. I feel like he's cementing the fact that his strength alone won't be enough. It won't be like All Might, where he can be the only one at a place where major catastrophe is occurring and be the guy that kills the villain, saves the casualties, saves any civilians. He's not going to be that guy, but what he can be is another variety of number one hero. He's going to be that incredible leader, that person that can bring in everyone around him, bolster their strengths to such a point where it'll bolster his strength, be it an incredibly productive and efficient leader. And because of that, he'll be kind of a number one hero in his own right, a number one hero that led a generation, rather than a number one hero that was kind of the kind of ruby in the crown of a generation. He's going to be that one that pulls everyone else's stats up as well with him. So I really like that he's beginning to understand, or at least I think he's beginning to understand. He seems to be cementing it right now. The fact that he's going to be a completely different number one hero to All Might, but it's a very commendable and respectable position to have. He hits Shigaraki with an attack called Vanishing Point. It looks awesome, but what we then get to see is at that exact moment, Mount Lady is holding back Gigantomachia, who has arrived at the scene, and she's trying with her utmost strength to hold back Gigantomachia, who has the League of Villains on his back. We see Dabi, we see Mr. Compress, we see Toga just resting on Gigantomachia's back, like they're just chilling there. But Mount Lady is absolutely, she's struggling to hold him back, and the heroes around her are saying, you gotta hold him back. You gotta hold him back. He can't go anywhere, otherwise he's gonna screw up the situation for the rest of the guys. And she knows that as well. But if you look at her, Gigantomachia doesn't look like he's struggling in the slightest. She looks like she's putting all her strength into it. But the fact that she's even able to hold him back for even a couple seconds shows how much Mount Lady has progressed as well. So I don't think she's gonna last very long. But props to her for even trying against someone as crazy as Gigantomachia. So what's gonna happen next? Like I said, I don't think the Mountain Lady's going to be able to hold on to Gigantomachia. I think Shigaraki's going to start to see the repercussions of his quirk, the repercussions of the experiment on him as well. Only being 75% completed. So I think he's probably going to be cracking up a little bit more. His face cracked at the end of this chapter, and I think we're going to see more of that. And he's probably going to start getting clobbered very soon. And then Gigantomachia is going to pop up, grab him, and get him the hell out of it. That's what I think is going to happen. Is there going to be an interaction between Dabi and Endeavor? I hope so, but maybe not too much. Maybe there's going to be like Dabi throws some flames at Endeavor, and Endeavor, although slightly damaged by Dabi's flames, is going to be like, wait a sec, where the hell did these flames come from? Why are they so familiar? So I feel like something like that's going to happen. But let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in a bit.